Cole, and welcome to Life According to Cree TV and Life According to Cree the podcast. I ain't got no music because I got a guest. Y'all know how I feel about guests. But, say I have a guest. He's a previous co-worker of mine. I just said that because I'm gonna let him introduce himself. His name is Oshwand D. Scott. And I'm gonna throw it over for him to introduce himself.
We really cousins, coaches. We do like 50 things together. But my name is Oshwand Scott. First of all, where does Cree come from?
Why don't you know where it comes from, cousin?
Because you was with the older set of cousins.
I was with the older
set of cousins.
Cree comes from my grandmother and my aunt Carolyn never called me by my name ever.
They called you Cree?
They call me Cree. They called and called me Cree.
I didn't know that.
I don't respond to it. I'm not known to them by any other name. And then other people say it in my family when they feel like.
Okay.
That's it. So what you figured I just made it up?
I thought it was like your nickname type thing. I always call you Crystal. I mean, that's your name. I thought you made Cree up.
Wow.
Anyway, I'm Oshwand Scott. She told me to introduce what I do. That's a loaded question. So, I'm a law school graduate. I'm an NBA sports agent. I'm a teacher. It's my first year teaching. Pray for me.
Welcome.
Pray for me. My first year teaching. We need to have a moment of silence for that. It's my first year teaching, and I'm an author. I just wrote my first book and released it in May. I think May or April, one of the two. So April. I'm a videographer, photographer, and a child of God.
And a child of God, hallelujah.
But child of God.
Thank you. But the reason that I wanted to interview you on my podcast was because of your book. Aside from the other 500 things that you do.
Well, I must not be that interesting.
I'm not.
That's what she's saying. I'm not interested.
Okay,
if I had not wrote a book,
no, what
I
I'm
wouldn't
saying is it made you more interesting to me.
You coach people, think you know them. You think they're your friends. But I tell you, you go to board with people, and it's fine, coach.
But like I was saying,
Coach,
what I said was I wanted to interview you because of the book. For one, because I didn't know you were writing a book.
I didn't know I was writing a book at first.
That's for one, and for two, because of the content matter of the book. Because you think you know people, and then you don't really know people, because then they write something and then you read it and you say, okay, then well.
This is why that person's that way.
Yeah, it makes certain things make more sense. Right. So since I made you introduce yourself, the name of the book is. Make sure I said the name right, because I had to practice.
What name?
The name of the book.
I'm Possible.
It's called I'm Possible, the Mental Wealth Playbook. Let me tell you. When I was making a little thing, voice.
You kept saying impossible?
No, I couldn't say mental wealth.
Like, I would have thought I'm Possible would have been the thing you couldn't say.
No, I can say I'm possible. Like, I couldn't say the mental wealth part.
You kept trying to say mental health.
Yeah, then it just became one big word. So, but that's the name of the book, and I want to know what made you decide to share that information and share with my listeners exactly what's in the book.
Okay. I'll start off like this. What I talk about is the title, period. Right? So everybody knows the saying, like, nothing's impossible, like you put your mind all that, whatever. So right. I saw the word impossible. And most people thought, like, you must have saw it on the commercial or something. But I thought of it myself. Not saying nobody's ever done it before. Mm-hmm. But I was like, life is all about perception. So I looked at the word impossible and I was like, it says, I'm possible. Like, so my thought process was, originally I wanted to start a mentoring program. Okay. Called the I'm Possible Mentoring Program. It's going to be like for less fortunate kids to kind of help them out, like as far as like giving them access to other things in the world, especially the kids from my community. And so that's where the idea I'm Possible comes from, saying like no matter what comes in your way, like as long as you're alive, like you're able to get through it. And so the mental wealth playbook. So you know I'm a basketball fanatic.
Right.
So it originally was going to be called The Playbook, period. But the more and more I start to write, the more and more I realize like this was like more so a mental health book. Because at first I just wanted to tell my testimony. Because I was like, God, if you know how everybody, God, if you give me this, I'll never do it again.
You're right.
Be lying.
Exactly.
God. So I was like, I see a lot of people I saw a lot of people telling their testimonies, and I saw how it helped people like hearing somebody else's testimony. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, you know what, God, you got me through this. You got me through all the stuff that I wrote about in the book. The least I can do is like share it with people. So.
Because you never know how it's gonna affect somebody.
Right. Like, even though you might think it doesn't matter in your life, because I'm the type of person, like, I don't care about my problems. Like, I'm good. I'll be all right. I worry about other people's problems. Like, I put other people's problems before mine. And so I just wanted to kind of give my testimony, but make it so where you can apply it to your life. Like, I didn't want it to be just like an autobiography. I didn't want it to be a book about me for real. I just wanted to use my life experiences and then kind of relate it to other people's lives. So.
Okay. That makes sense. And I'm glad that was like kind of like the purpose. Because then I know that I didn't misuse.
and so I'll tell you this, like, because the mental health thing, so the word mental health gets a negative connotation, like,
right,
in the world.
just
like,
off top.
People think you crazy. Like, oh, he got mental health. Like, he crazy. Like, but I kind of wanted to give it a different outlook. Like, I talk about perceptions all the time. Like, life is what you see it as. Mm-hmm. And so I say the word mental wealth because it's important. Like, to be mentally stable, mentally stable and being able to have yourself together mentally, like, it's wealth. It's like kind of like having a lot of money. Like, so.
Because I'm not going to say this because I know you. I'm going to say it because you're actually a black male. A black male giving a perspective at all about mental health is a lot.
You don't like to seem vulnerable.
Not at all.
Yeah. I had that problem. Because growing up, and let me say this. I'm going to say this. To all y'all parents out there, because we all men around my age, a little bit young, a little bit older, anybody older than me or around my age, we were always told, you gotta be tough, don't cry, do all this, and
girls, he in his early 30s.
Right.
I don't think he's too old.
I'm sorry to say, your parents, boys ain't supposed to cry.
Right.
Your parents was wrong. Just because your parents say something don't mean it right.
No. As a parent, this is what I'm gonna say. I did not tell my son that he couldn't cry. I didn't tell him he couldn't cry. I told him he could say anything or feel anything. What he could not do was shut down and pout. I could deal with him crying if he was hurt. I could deal with tears and up and down emotions. What I couldn't deal with was pouting. So that's how I distinguish.
But you're not an old school parent though. You more like younger.
No,
younger parent.
I'm not.
You not like
no.
Your mom. You wasn't in the battlefield.
Okay, I wasn't in it, but I wasn't raised here either. If I would have been here.
From a different area though.
But if I would have been here, I may have been. But I had discipline and everything. I wasn't one of those parents that said I don't want to do anything that my parents did. I wanted to do everything that my parents did. The only thing was I just didn't want to fuss as much. Some things they fussed about I didn't think were as important. Right. So I didn't fuss about him crying. I didn't care nothing about him being emotional. He could be emotional. What he couldn't do was shut down and pout as a boy. And I think that's like when I go to sporting events and I hear people talking to their kids, their sons in particular, and
the kids tell them not to be emotional.
And they be telling them, not to whine in the more expletive nature.
I don't want them to whine. Whining is different.
But it's just the way that you tell them not to whine. Sure. Like that's the thing, how you tell them not to whine. Like you can't tell them, don't be a blah 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 blah.
Right.
You can't do that. Or you can, but they're not gonna take it that way.
Stop stepping on my toes.
I'm just saying. But the thing about it for me is that there was actually instructions in the book. Mm-hmm. That said that for the playbook portion, because it's actually it's like a autobiography, like testimony that segues into like a list of I don't know if it was supposed to be 30 days. I don't know if that was on purpose or what.
So originally it was supposed to come with the journal. Like it's supposed to be a book, the book and the journal. The journal's supposed to be 60 days.
Okay.
But Amazon didn't let me write the journal by itself because it had to be a certain amount of pages, and I haven't yet figured out how to get around that.
Right.
So I had to put it all in one. Originally what I wanted was in the journal for the quote to be on one side, and it'd be like paper where you can write on the other side to kind of tell you like write about that day.
But
That's
the,
how I want.
I mean, but the way that the format turned, yeah, right. That's what I'm about to say. The way that because it said that you could either just read them every day, you know, read the quotes and apply them to your life, or you could write little things down about it. Said that, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna follow the directions. Like I came from education too. Like I follow directions. Right. So I was like, okay, well, what I'll do for me, I ain't got to tell nobody else. Each day, since it's the beginning of the month, because your book came out in the beginning of the month. Since it's the beginning of the month, I'm gonna catch up to the date that it's on, and then each day I'm gonna read a quote and I'm gonna write down how that quote applies to me, me personally. And then that's a way for me to get that off my chest. I ain't got to tell nobody else. And then, you know, I can reflect on it throughout the day or whatever. And it might have been a quote that was really happy. It might have been a quote that was a little bit more dark that made you think a little bit more about it or a situation. Like I literally wrote down situations. Like this, I remember when such and such and such and such, I jotted it down. And a couple of things I thought about when I read some of the quotes, it was like things I hadn't thought about, but the quote made me think about.
Okay, I'm gonna put you on the spot. What's your favorite quote from the book?
I don't remember the quote specifically, and I left the book at home. But I know it was a quote by The Rock. I know whose quote it was. I know whose quote it was. I know whose quote it was. It was a quote by The Rock. And I actually started because you know I like promoting people in stuff.
And she did read the book, people.
I
know she read the book. I know she read the book. She ain't up here bluffing, blowing smoke. She read the book.
I could have gotten the book in its most natural state.
Right.
I didn't want it. It was sent to me. I was like, I didn't ask for that. I'm gonna buy a book.
Right.
But that's only because
I didn't do it for money though.
No, it's not a matter of doing it for money, but if something costs a price, then you know I'm gonna pay the price. Like I want to be a part of the number when the numbers go up. Like when you post a little thing and it said that you know you sold X amount of copies, I know I'm in the number. I can pat myself on the back and be like, I'm a part of this post, even if I ain't had to be tagged. So you know, but that's the way that I apply the book. I seen where other people made comments and things and posts about the material in the book and so forth and so on.
I'll tell you, a lot of people's favorite quote in the book. I'll tell you mine, and I'll tell you a lot of people's favorite quote is the "Be where your feet are." That quote. A lot of people like that quote because a lot of people don't. They're always looking ahead instead of appreciating what they have like today. Right. So that was a lot of people's favorite quote. My favorite quote, and I can't remember exactly what it says, but it goes something like, your situation didn't make you strong. Maybe you already were and just didn't know it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that's my favorite quote. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
But since you seem to be somewhat in tune at your very small age, adult age,
I'm old now. I was in PE playing kickball with the kids. Mind you, we only played 10 minutes. We ain't had enough time to play no longer than 10 minutes. I'm hurting right now. I'm hurting from the kickball game.
Just wait. It gets better. It gets better. Y'all talk about, coach, you need to be doing this and that with the children, and I'm thinking, I'm 40.
Pray for me.
So y'all think y'all don't break down. It slows down. Your check engine light gonna come on.
Then as soon as you hit 30, if you ain't 30, as soon as you hit 30, look out. Go ahead and make sure your insurance and everything paid up. You're gonna need massages and all that. Chiropractors, you're gonna need all that.
But because you seem to be, because I didn't know you were that in tune with yourself. Huh?
I'm closed off. I don't let people in my life.
Right.
Like, so
you said, you go to war with people. Yeah, this is what you said. Like you go to war with people and you don't be knowing people. So with that being said, I'm respecting the level of maturity that you do have.
Oh wow.
Because I have not. I know I have not at times, but I am.
Oh my God.
So with that being said, and then life according to Creed content parameters, I got questions.
Oh Lord.
I got questions.
I got answers.
No, because with that, because a lot of some of the things in your book talk about not being in the place that you want to be, or like struggling with different things, and like you said, perception. And what do you think? Because the first thing
if I cry in this video, we deleting all this.
No, listen,
we gonna do a whole podcast.
You're not going to. You're not going to. I promise. Okay, because now you say you're making me nervous.
Whole podcast gone. Whole podcast out the door.
Let's say, one of my listeners said, "Don't turn off."
Oh, you can see people listening?
Yeah, like this, my podcast over this is live.
Oh my God.
So, but do you feel like you're in the place where you want to be now? Because you gave off 35 credentials.
Never.
Like,
I'm never in a place where I want to be. Not like I'm never satisfied. I'm always gonna find the next thing, and that's probably a downfall. Like it's probably a bad thing. Like I said, I don't appreciate where like to me, like I said, I gave off 35 credentials. I feel like I'm not doing enough. Like I feel like there's more that I need to do. Like as far as like I said, I want to start that mentoring program. That's like one of my top things. Another thing I want to do, I want to start some kind of foundation that deals with like diabetes, because that's what my granddad died from. Right. So I want to start some kind of foundation around that. I want to mainly my goal is to honor the people that have taken care of me in some way, whether they're alive or dead, to make sure the kids that are connected to me and anybody that's connected to who's connected to me, like that they get exposure to things that we didn't have when we were growing up. Right. Like a lot of these kids, like they don't visit colleges anymore. Like they only know South Carolina and really their area. Like for example, Florence. They haven't been outside of Florence. They might have been in New York because they got family up there. They might have been in North Carolina.
When you live out in the country, you
that's right.
You really don't get to go nowhere until you go to Florence on Saturday.
Exactly. So Florence was their like California, like so, and like when we get to college, we're in culture shock if we even go to college. Right. You know what I'm saying? And so I just want to give them that exposure earlier, because exposure leads to expansion. So the more you see, the more you want to learn. The more like, okay, so what's in California? Like what's in Nevada? Like Montana? Like stuff like that. So I just don't want their first time seeing something different to be going to college, because not everybody goes to college.
But I'll tell you something that'll throw you off. With the fact that I didn't move down south until, I ain't gonna say down south because I lived in Florida too. But Florida ain't Florida ain't South Carolina. Like it's different. But when I moved from all the places I had been being younger and moved down here, it was a culture shock for me.
Why?
Because I had never been in an area or in a school, one that was predominantly black, and was so small. I had never been in that setting at all, ever in my life. From when I can remember 4 years old, starting school on up. I had never. So when I got down here, and it's like, okay, well that's the school. That's the school right there. And then I get there, like, and everybody, like, the whole school is in the gym, but the gym ain't but like this big.
And they fill up all the seats in the gym.
Right, and it's not even full. Like, it was a culture shock for me. It took me being around, crazy as it sounds, I'm black and was raised good and black. It took me almost a year to like get completely comfortable with being around that many of my own people, and half the people were related to me.
Where you from? Detroit, right?
I was born in Detroit.
The Motor City.
I was a suburb right outside of Detroit, but nobody would know, no one would know where that was. My father was military, so we lived in a suburb outside of Detroit. Thank you.
Excuse me.
And then we moved to Tennessee.
Y'all stayed in Tennessee?
We lived in Tennessee, in Millington, Tennessee. It was a military base there. It's not too far from Memphis. It's actually where Justin Timberlake is from. I went to the elementary school.
No, baby, saying y'all.
I went to elementary school, went to kindergarten with Justin Timberlake.
What black people will throw themselves with another person? That man ain't know you.
He did. He's on a picture at my house.
So you was with Justin Timberlake.
I went to.
Well, black
I
people
went to
throw this
4K
up. I went to
with
school
Justin
with
Timberlake.
Jay-Z.
No, with Justin Timberlake.
Jay-Z.
Don't worry, I'm gonna take a picture of it and send it to you so you can edit it into this video, my 4K picture. And then I landed in Timmonsville where everybody was black. I had never been to an all black school, so like, while like I get the exposure thing, like with the kids around here because they never get to really, a lot of them don't get to experience things or have pitfalls where they can't experience things or their parents don't understand why they should experience certain things.
But exposure just isn't about like the town you're in. It could be exposed to different types of people. Like,
yeah, because I know my family in Detroit. They don't know nothing but Detroit.
Right.
That's all they know. When they come down here, it's like,
now you might not.
Timeline wise, because you said you never satisfied.
Right.
Like, I don't know how that would be
to you. Like you go, like you have to like check that goal.
Because I used to be that way, where I always.
It's not a good way to be.
I had a list of 500 things that I wanted to do. And then while I was thinking of those 500 things, random other things would just pop up in my head while I'm thinking of those 500 things. And I noticed that I never got nothing finished.
No, I don't have that problem.
Now, see, that was my issue. I never got anything finished to the point where I had to start going, okay.
That's probably how I am with smaller things.
I'm doing this, and when I finish this, then I'm going to do the next.
I'm probably like that with smaller things, but stuff like, big stuff like what I just named, I'm not like, see me, like writing my book, it took me 3 years to write that book. Like, so I only wrote in it when I felt the need, like when I was, I won't say in my feelings, but when I was in my feelings, like when I thought about it, because I made a promise, like I wouldn't just throw something together to make money or just to put it out to say I wrote a book. Because you know how people just throw something together and say, oh, I wrote a book. Like I wanted it to be meaningful. I wanted every part of the book to actually, like mean something.
Don't have like a purpose.
Right,
to it.
right. So yeah, it took me 3 years to write that book. So, yeah. And everything I do is probably gonna take me a long period of time because I want it to be as polished as possible. Like as far as like, I want it to be authentic. So I didn't want to make up any stories. Just the I don't know, not oh my god. I didn't want to make up any stories. Just to throw something together and say like, oh, I wrote a book. So it took me 3 years. 3 years.
I've been published. It did not take me 3 years. But that's only because I have a thing where if I start something, I have to finish it before I can start something else. So if I start to write something, anything, like I have to finish it.
And I didn't tell anybody.
That's the part that bothers me.
It's a couple people that know.
I'm not gonna say it bothers me, but that was the part where it was like, oh, okay.
But that, I mean,
because I think you made mention of it, but I probably said like, okay.
Yeah.
I probably said okay.
And I'm so closed off, nobody would ever think I would write a book. Like, my family didn't know. At all. They didn't know.
Like,
nobody knew. Nope. Until I wrote it. Because, like in that book, it's stuff they didn't know about me. Unless they were in it. Like, my mom, obviously, she knows about certain stuff. And honestly, I could have made the book 10 times better. But I couldn't. It's information I couldn't share because.
What do you mean by better?
Like I could have been
like more entertaining from a reader standpoint.
Yeah, more detail. I could have went into more detail, but I didn't want. Like it was certain people that I didn't want to throw. You know what I'm saying? Throw on the bus. Like talk bad about them because I'm over that. Like I'm past that. Like they don't deserve it. Like.
Cause that's one thing you're saying. Like I heard you say like I don't care about my feelings. I care about other people's feelings.
Right. Like had I been selfish, I could have. It's a lot of stuff I could have wrote in that book that probably would have like, as far as entertainment purposes, it probably would have made the book be like, oh my god, I can't believe this happened. But yeah, I'm not in there like.
It didn't need that.
No, it didn't.
It didn't need that for it to serve its purpose. It didn't need that. And sometimes letting people be great is a whole lot better.
Right.
Than throwing them under a bus. I'm in my season of you can get it. But I'm also
why though? Why give people that much power over you?
That's what people say. The people always say that. Why do you give people that much power over you? I haven't always. But the reason why I'm in that season now is because you're not gonna have the opportunity to say you did not know. That's where I'm at. You're not gonna get the chance to say you did not know, because a lot of times things happen in people's jobs, in their families, and all that. And the first thing somebody go to say, your auntie go to say is, "Well, Lord, I ain't know nothing about that." Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. And one thing that us as black people do, we don't hold each other accountable.
That's fair. Listen, I got a question. What was your favorite chapter in the book? Which chapter was your favorite? And I'll talk about the chapter.
You said you ain't want to cry.
I'm good.
Okay. Cause
I already know what it's gonna be then.
how you already know?
It's either about my stepdad or my granddaddy. One of the two.
It's about your say when you're writing about your stepdad.
Okay.
And only because, like you say, like you be saying I be knowing stuff about people. I really don't be knowing stuff, even if I was around. So I didn't know the dynamics of anybody's relationships.
Mm-hmm.
All I know is, okay, this is this person's daddy, this person's daddy, this is their mom or whatever. I don't know why they ain't whatever. It's none of my business. You know, even as a kid, I just knew it wasn't my business. Right. So the fact that you spoke about it and that you were the fact that you were able to, as an adult,
that was probably
influence.
I'll be honest. That was the first chapter I wrote. And it was the hardest for me to write. It was even harder for me to write about my granddad's death. And that's probably the worst thing that ever happened to me. So that first chapter, and I halfway started it, right? And then, see, he didn't die until I was halfway through the chapter. Because originally, like, the whole chapter was going to be about us growing up poor and, like, you know, stuff like that. Like, just about moving to North Carolina with him and my mom. Like, that's what originally what that chapter was going to be about. But he died because I floated through chapters when I wrote it. So when I got in my feelings, when I first decided I was going to write a book, it was two things I know I was going to write about. It was him and my childhood, like growing up, and not even so much him, like just my childhood growing up, and my granddad. Those were the two things I know like were going to be in the book. And so I started writing that chapter, and then he ended up, I found out he had prostate cancer, and he ended up dying. So that whole chapter went from it being about my childhood to about him.
Right.
Because when I found out he had prostate cancer, I started learning more about him for real, and started thinking like, wow, like the stuff that went on during the childhood. And that's when I came to the conclusion like, maybe I don't know what he was going. Maybe he was going through something to make him do certain stuff. Like, because as a child, you don't think about that. You're thinking like, he's so mean to me.
Right.
He doing this. Why he doing that? Like bad. Like what he doing is bad. But as you grow up and get older, you think, well, why do I do some of the bad stuff I do? It's because something happened to me. Somebody did this or somebody did that, or I'm struggling trying to make ends meet, so I'm doing things that aren't like me. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I sat back and really reflected. Like, he might have actually cared about it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he actually took time with me more than I thought. Now that I sit back and look, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. So, like I said, he's the reason I love basketball is my life today. He's the reason that is that. Like, so that's why I wrote that chapter. But originally it was supposed to be about my childhood, not him.
No,
but he was such a vital part of that.
And the fact that you were able to be that honest, because some people, they go through things when they're younger, and people, you know, certain people do certain things, and they be 50, 60 years old.
I'm at the funeral, and I'm like, am I supposed to be crying? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, because in my head, all I remember, like, in my head, my whole life, I'm thinking, like, all he did was bad to me. So why am I sad? Like, I felt like my real dad died. Like, for real. So I'm, like, walking in the funeral, like crying. I'm, like, crying. I'm looking around, like, make sure nobody don't see me cry. I don't want nobody to see me cry. Like, I'm not supposed to like
because you're supposed to, because that was the thing. Right. I don't fool with him. I don't like him.
I'm supposed to hate him. But it's crazy, like, when him and my mom separated, he would find me on Facebook. He would always check on me, check on my brother, like, all the time. How you doing? Like, proud of you. Like, all the stuff. Like, I'm like it's weird. 'Cause I don't like you. Why you checking on me? Why you like, you don't like me? In my head, like, I don't think you like me. But now you checking on me, like, doing all this stuff. Like, and he got like 55 Facebook pages. But every time, every time he got a password, he would find my page, and he would always check on me. So yeah, so that's how that went. So that letter was just like, and I'll be honest, I wouldn't have been man enough to tell him in his face if he was like living. Just because I don't know why, I just wouldn't have been man enough.
But really, and I guess because.
And that's the man thing, being vulnerable. Like, it's hard for other men to come to another man and be like, listen, I was wrong. Like, even though you were wrong too, probably. Mm-hmm. But like, I was wrong. Like, I really do. Like, you really did make an impact in my life. So.
Yeah, that part of the book was very reflective. I was like, oh, okay. Okay, well, I was like,
and I literally act like him. Like, like my competitive drive that I like, because I'm crazy competitive. I got it from him.
So no matter what, your poor brother would have had somebody fussing. No matter what, no matter what. Yeah, it's actually a trait. From that's messed up. I used to feel bad for the baby. I feel bad for the baby. I like, he's just so hard on him, Jesus, and Lord, he doing so good, and he just would not say he do good at all. But you don't think that's kind of counterproductive to never have that feeling of
you get comfortable
of
what
being like saying, okay, I did that, I completed that, like that's done, and pat yourself on the back, yourself a little bit.
Yeah, but now what's next?
But you gotta take that moment though.
Yeah, for a second. You can enjoy it today. Tomorrow you'll get back to work because somebody's coming for that spot. You win the championship tomorrow, like, okay, you can take a week off, but it's the team that lost that's gonna be working that next day. That's in life.
No, and I only said that because
you win employee of the month. You win employee of the month. It's somebody that's jealous that you won employee of the month. So they gonna come making the boss coffee and all that. They're trying to get employee of the month.
But even with the life that's in like in the title of my the life that's in the title of my stuff is for loving yourself first. And one of the things about loving yourself first is making sure that you acknowledge yourself.
That's true. I do a bad job. I do.
That's exactly. It's making sure that you acknowledge yourself, because if you don't acknowledge yourself, time will be done went by. Like, you be doing things and accomplishing things, but if you don't acknowledge yourself, then you don't get to have that moment.
I'd rather for other people to give me my flowers, because I'm not gonna pat myself on the back, like, because I feel like I could be doing more. Like, I always feel like I could have did better than what I did. Like, I feel like, okay, if I haven't impacted 5 kids' lives, I should have did 10. So now I'm trying to do 10 next time. Like,
I'm gonna give you the flip side of that. But if you don't do 10 and you do those 5 were more than 0. I tell people all the time when they tell me they don't want a job, when I be trying to put people on how to go about getting work. I mean, like, so you want $0? I know it only pays $9.
Right, and
I know it only pays $9 an hour, and I know that you done did all this stuff to where you can at least get 15. But for right now, just to get in there, you can't take 9.
Well, the problem with people is they don't want to belittle themselves. They love it. They don't want to belittle themselves, and like I talked about it in my book about me having to work construction. Mm-hmm. You see how black I am? I do not want to be in no heat out there, laying sewer. Like, I did not want to do, but I knew I had to do that to sustain me until I got to where I wanted to be. So,
well, do you feel like I understand? I understand
my dream job.
Yeah, I understand your current career, but I can see with people listening or hearing your credentials, they're going,
why are you teaching?
I know, but it makes sense to me.
Why you not a lawyer?
Right.
I'll say this. So, law school turned me away from law school. My whole law school journey turned me away from law school because most people of color, they get into the law because their main reason, like, if you ask people, they're gonna tell you, I just wanted to help our people. Like, you know what I'm saying? I want to make sure they stay out of the jails and all that, which is great. The problem is, to help us, it's so much we got to fight politically till it's draining. Like, it's so many other hoops that you got to, because don't let people fool you. Being a lawyer is all really about, I ain't gonna say anybody can be a lawyer, but you can Google half of the stuff they got to deal with the law. Like, no, I'm just being honest.
Right.
You can Google half of the stuff. It's all about relationships. Everything's about relationships. You know how many times the lawyer go in there, he just know the judge, and that's why the judge ruled in his favor?
I'm pretty sure that a situation that I was involved in, the reason why it
Don't
turned...
educate nobody, Lord. This is all fake.
Listen, the reason why it turned out the way that it did and the people involved were given the grace that they were given is because the lawyer knew the district attorney, they knew enough about the judge, and they had a conversation and was like, okay, you know what? We could do this, but we're not even going to... And they talked to me, and then they were like, okay, we're going to do this instead.
That's it. That's all it is.
None of it happened in the courtroom, I can tell you that.
Right. None of people look at this law and order and all this thing, they're going to be in the courtroom. That's not how it's going to happen. But I lost passion for law when I realized the system was corrupt. With some people like, they going to fight through it and they still going to help out people. Right, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But
Avengers for the cause and all that.
But in my head, I wanted to get in front of all that. So that's why I started coaching. And that's why I started teaching. I wanted to catch them before they got to the courtroom.
Right.
Like at a young, and that's why I wanted middle school. They asked me like, you want to do high school? I want middle school.
No, middle school kids are better. Because that's when they transition.
That is what they transition.
They transition in middle school. It's not when they get to 9th grade or nothing like that. They transition in middle school.
Y'all bad. I love y'all.
They transition in middle school. That's when their bodies are all out of whack.
Yeah.
That's when they brains, they can't learn nothing no more. They can't do, like, they don't know what, and they don't know, they literally, you can watch a middle school kid fumble with they self, like they don't know what to even do with their own body if you just sit and watch.
Right. I kind of wanted to get in front of that and kind of show them like, oh, okay, like it's a better way to do. It's like, we played a game my first day. It's called Two Truths and a Lie. Mm-hmm. And so my truth was I was a lawyer, I was an NBA agent. My lie was, and don't get mad at me when I say this, my lie was I was a Dallas Cowboys fan. That was my lie.
Wow. That was
a lie.
Oh, I'm gonna take that though.
That was a lie.
I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna take it.
Because it was so common, I figured they would think that was the truth.
That was the truth.
And so it's crazy. I asked them to raise their hand if they thought me being a lawyer and me being a sports agent was a lie. Half of the class raised their hand. Everybody thought the Cowboys thing was
definitely the truth.
Right. We know that. Some kid even told me, Coach, you got 2 lies up there in the truth. I had to look at the board. I was like, no, I don't. I don't have two lies up there in the truth. And so, but it's crazy how like the kids already know, like in their head, he's black. He can't
possibly
be right. And it's like subconscious. They ain't doing that. Yeah.
And he here. So
right.
They're not able to.
The teacher ain't doing all that.
Yeah, they're not able to connect all that.
But once they figured out like what my 2 truths and a lie was, it's like they respected me more. They looked up to me like I got that respect. Like now they got all these questions. Can I meet LeBron James? I can't help you meet LeBron James. No. But now they see like, oh, I can be black and that. Mm-hmm. Like I can't be black and a pharmacist or like. Because, you know, as black people, the only thing we think we can be is rappers, singers, and basketball players, athletes.
Yep. But I want to thank you for coming and spending this time with me. I really appreciate it talking to you. Please make sure that you go to, and I'm gonna get, because he's gonna edit this video too. I'm gonna get him to put on the video, say the link for his book. We'll go back. It's called Impossible, the Mental Wealth Playbook. I'm telling you, like I really couldn't say it. I recorded that thing like 6 times. I'm like, why can't I talk? The Mental Wealth Playbook. It's available on Amazon. It's still on.
Yes, it's still available. I hope so. If not, Amazon better tell me something. Send them checks.
It's available on Amazon. I'm gonna try to talk my friend into being, brave enough to do speaking engagements and things like that. You think you'll write another book?
One more.
You're done?
One more.
And also I want you to share your social media.
Okay.
You know, because I ask you get people you know to do things they don't do.
I'm gonna share. I gotta change my name. My students starting to find me.
I mean, it's
on TikTok. I'm sitting here like, oh my God, it is my name. Yeah.
It's your name.
And I can't make it private because I got athletes DMing me. Yeah. Yeah. So my students, Mr. Scott, I see you on TikTok singing Fantasia. When I see you, I don't need them to know that's my song. That's my song, y'all.
But share with the people your social media. Say how you can be reached via social media.
Instagram, Agent O Scott. I'll put it on the screen right here. I guess this is right there. Right? Yeah, right there. I'll put it right there. Agent O Scott. My Facebook is my real name, Oshwand Scott, OSHWAND Scott, SCOTT for people that don't know how to spell it. Twitter is Agent O Scott. TikTok is Oshwand Scott. Same
because he set up a TikTok.
Yeah, I had to
with his whole government name.
I'm trying to do right. Yeah, I need to change that.
Government name. My name is Cree Cole. I ain't put Coleman. I put Cole.
I ain't got that far yet. I ain't that advanced.
Say, and make sure that you continue to follow me, like, and share, and subscribe. All of my social media is the same except for my TikTok. Like I just said, my TikTok is @CreeCole. There is nothing really important on there except for inviting me dancing because I'm a part of Mom Talk. Don't judge me. I'm part of Mom Talk. I'm part of Cool Mom Talk. But on Twitter, which I barely use, Instagram and Facebook, it is @Life According to Cree. On YouTube, it's @Life According to Cree TV. If you're watching this, that's where you're watching it on. You're actually viewing it on there. I know y'all don't think that stuff crosses over, but it does when you click on it.
Oh, people can see this now?
No, they can't see it right now.
Oh.
No, they can't see it right now. But all those, and they will be at the end of the video. So, as always, thank you for watching me. And good night. I'll see y'all Thursday. With night. That's what the LYF stands for in Life According to Cree. It is love yourself first.